We've come to this important book, the Book of the Divine Mother, in which King Asvapati finds the fulfillment of his tapasya, his spiritual journey. We haven't quite come to that point yet, but we've come to the point where, having made a great journey through all the planes of consciousness in the manifestation, he has found that all is too little that the world can give. And he's looking for that principle beyond anything that exists in the manifestation at that time. Some power, some principle that will be able to grant his prayer for a great change in the earth, that to the earth a diviner kind of life can come for earth and man. And when he first, we could say, goes beyond the manifestation, he seems to come face to face with an unknowable reality which seems to call everything to melt, to lose individuality, to merge into some state of featureless, silent oneness. But that is not quite what he's been looking for. And faced with this tremendous choice, he is waiting for another alternative. And last week we read how in that moment when he's standing there faced with the possibility of extinction, the presence he yearned for suddenly drew close. And there's this wonderful description of the Divine Mother, Supreme Divine Mother, who says yes to everything, who has given birth to everything, who loves and embraces everything, and through her loving embrace turns all sorrow and suffering into joy. So we read the first half of that description last week. We'll continue with the second half this afternoon, starting on the bottom of page 313. The hidden word was found, the long-sought clue. Revealed was the meaning of our spirit's birth, condemned to an imperfect body and mind in the inconscience of material things and the indignity of mortal life. A heart was felt in the spaces wide and bare, a burning love from white spiritual founts annulled the sorrow of the ignorant depths. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. A life from beyond grew conqueror here of death. To err no more was natural to mind. Wrong could not come where all was light and love. The formless and the formed were joined in her. Immensity was exceeded by a look. A face revealed the crowded infinite. incarnating inexpressibly in her limbs the boundless joy the blind world forces seek. Her body of beauty mooned the seas of bliss. At the head she stands of birth and toil and fate. In their slow round, the cycles turn to her call. Alone her hands can change time's dragon base. Hers is the mystery the night conceals. The spirit's alchemist energy is hers. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire, the luminous heart of the unknown is she, a power of silence in the depths of God. She is the force, the inevitable word, the magnet of our difficult ascent, the sun from which we kindle all our suns, the light that leans from the unrealized vasts, the joy that beckons from the impossible, the might of all that never yet came down. All nature dumbly calls to her alone to heal with her feet the aching throb of life and break the seals on the dim soul of man and kindle her fire in the closed heart of things. All here shall be one day her sweetness's home. All contraries prepare her harmony. Towards her our knowledge climbs, our passion gropes. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy our pain. Our self shall be one self with all through her. In her confirmed, because transformed in her, our life shall find in its fulfilled response, above the boundless hushed beatitudes, below the wonder of the embrace divine. This known as in a thunder flash of God, the rapture of things eternal filled his limbs. Amazement fell upon his ravished sense. His spirit was caught in her intolerant flame. Once seen, his heart acknowledged only her. Only a hunger of infinite bliss was left. All aims in her were lost, then found in her. His base was gathered to one pointing spire. So how shall we start? We start here at the front and read towards the back. Shall we do that? Martin, will you start? The hidden word was found.
The hidden word was found, the long sought clue. Revealed was the meaning of our spirit's birth, condemned to an imperfect body and mind, in the inconscience of material things, and the indignity of mortal life.
The hidden word, and it's word with a capital W. In this poem, when we see this word, we know that Sri Aurobindo is referring to the word, the creative word. That's what King Asvapati has been looking for, that new power which can change the way things are in the world as it is, this imperfect world. So now, King Asvapati, feeling the presence of this wonderful being, feels that at last he has found that creative word, that creative power. And this is the clue that he's been looking for, that's giving the solution to the problem that he's been facing. He feels that the meaning of our birth is revealed. This is really the fundamental question that all thinking and sensitive human beings have to ask themselves at some point, no? Why am I here? And why are things like this? Why is it, if I'm an immortal spirit, if I'm a soul, how come I've been born into this imperfect body, this mind which seems only to be able to make mistakes? We're born here into this material world, the inconscience of material things, things that are here are unconscious, lacking in consciousness, and we ourselves have a limited consciousness. So the inconscience of material things and the indignity of mortal life. It's not that our lives as such lack dignity, but for the spirit which has come from a state of freedom, of absolute liberty, of purity, of bliss, to be condemned to inhabit this imperfect body and life and all the imperfections, all the problems, the incapacities we have to face. This is an indignity, the indignity of mortal life. So he feels he's come into contact with a solution to that problem. Nargis, would you read?
A heart was felt in the spaces wide and bare, a burning love from vital spiritual founts, annulled the sorrow of the ignorant depths. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile.
Yes. So he had been feeling that empty, white, silent vastness, no? But now in those wide, bare spaces, he feels a heart that is pouring love, a burning love, an intense, passionate love that's pouring out from these white spiritual founts, like fountains or a source, a spring, something bubbling out. And that burning love annulled, it makes into nothing the sorrow that we suffer here in these ignorant depths, these deep places where we feel cut off from our origin, where we feel that we have fallen. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. Yes, such a smile of compassion, of love, of understanding, of affirmation, that all the pain goes away. Dhanalakshmi?
A life from beyond grew conqueror here out there. To hear no more was natural to mind. Wrong could not come where all was light and love.
Yes. So when he's in that presence, feeling that presence, he experiences that there's another kind of life, not the life that we know here in the material universe, a life with a capital L, a life energy that's coming from beyond. And that life is so powerful that it can conquer even death. And to us, in our present state, it is natural to err, to make mistakes. It's a kind of proverb, a saying, to err is human. We can't help making mistakes because our consciousness is limited and we feel separate from each other. It's natural to mind to err. But he feels in that presence that it's no longer natural to mind to make mistakes. No, there's no possibility of anything wrong or false or crooked coming, because in her presence there's only light, full consciousness, and love.
The formless and the forms joined in her. Immensity was extended by a look. The face revealed the
Crowded.
and infinity.
Yes. So the characteristic of this presence is that it connects things which seem to be opposites. To start with, in this form, he experiences her as a form, you remember? A body, a face, a heart. So in her, in this presence, the formless, what is beyond manifestation, beyond form, the transcendent, the limitless, is connected with the form, all the many forms in the universe. They are joined in her. That immensity, that vastness which he'd experienced as an empty, white vastness, is exceeded by a look. To exceed means to go beyond, to be more than. You may say, oh, you've exceeded my expectations, you've done more than I expected you to do. So that all that vastness, it seems as if even more powerful is that look from her eyes, from her face, from her smile. That's more than all the vastness. A face revealed, the crowded infinite. The infinite might seem to be empty, but actually it's packed packed full of possibilities, all the possibilities that can be revealed in creation, in manifestation. And it's as if all those possibilities are revealed in that wonderful face which he sees.
Incarnating inexpressibly into the limbs, the boundless joy of blind world forces seek. Her body of beauty moves the seas of bliss.
Yes. So somehow in these limbs, in this form, this shape, this body which he sees, it seems to incarnate, it seems to give a body in some mysterious way that can't be expressed. All the joy, all the bliss that the blind world forces are looking for. All of us are seeking for bliss. We look for this or that thing. We think that if we get it, we will be happy, we will be satisfied, we'll be able to live our life the way we want. But actually, what we're really seeking for is that boundless joy, the unlimited bliss of the divine presence. So there, it's all contained in that form which he sees, this body of beauty, which is like a moon, a softly shining light. It's mooning, it's lighting up like a moon. The seas, the oceans, the unlimited oceans of bliss. In the Indian mythology, the moon is always connected with bliss. Perhaps in this hot country, there's something so delightful about the cooling, soothing moonlight, and that Soma, the god, the cosmic power, who gives us the nectar, the drink, the intoxicating drink that brings us bliss. He's connected with the moon also. The two always go together.
At the end she stands of birth and toil and faith. In that slow round, the cycles turn toward cold. Alone, her hands can change time's darting pace.
Thank you. So at the head, she's the one who's commanding, we could say, or leading this whole process of birth and toil, all the effort and striving that happens in the universe, and fate, whether it's a high destiny or a not so high one. She's the one who's in command of all the processes in the universe. So the cycles of time, of the ages, they are revolving according to her command, her call, as if she's calling all the cycles of evolution towards herself. She is the one who alone can change time, time's dragon base. Again, this is a Vedic image. It's the image of our whole world of space and time, our material world, it being based on a dark foundation. And this dark foundation is guarded by a dragon. In some mythologies, dragons are positive beings. In Asia, dragons seem to be positive powers. No? In Europe, they tend to be negative powers. But whether they're positive or negative, they live in deep, dark places, and they guard treasures. You know? And that's if you can propitiate the dragon or conquer the dragon, then you can acquire those treasures that are hidden there. So this is a symbol again for the inconscience, for all those great riches and treasures that are hidden in the darkness of the inconscience and which will have to be revealed and freed and liberated and expressed in the process of evolution. So she's the only one who can change that base, that dragon base. Patricia?
Hers is the mystery the night conceals. Spirit's alchemist energy is hers. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire.
Mm-hmm. You will see in this passage where Sri Aurobindo is trying to convey some of the mystery and the magic of this tremendous experience, he's using a lot of symbolical language. We find symbolical language all through Savitri, but here it's particularly condensed. So we have to try and understand these symbols. So when he says the night with a capital N, this is a power of darkness that envelops us. But out of it, the day comes. And there's something mysterious and something attractive about that mystery of the night. So he says that darkness, that mystery that's attracting us, that is a power of the Mother. The Spirit's alchemist energy. So the alchemists, the old chemists, they were trying to find the way to turn base metals, ordinary metals, into gold. The alchemist energy is the energy that can make everything divine and pure and true. Gold is the symbol of something absolutely pure and precious, incorruptible. So that alchemist energy, it is her energy. She is the golden bridge. For us, it often seems as if the world of matter and the world of spirit are very difficult to connect. It's as if there's a gap in between. So Sri Aurobindo is showing us the Divine Mother as the connecting link that makes sense of all this material world in terms of the higher consciousness. And she's the wonderful fire. Fire, we connect it with warmth, with heat, with light, with energy, with purification. Fire is purifying. If we want to sterilize a needle, we will pass it through fire. We also connect it with that upward flame, that intense flame of love, of aspiration. So she is somehow all of these things, this purifying, wonderful fire, this golden bridge. Joel?
The luminous heart of the unknown is she, a power of silence in the depths of God. She is the force, the inevitable word, the magnet of our difficult ascent, the sun from which we kindle all our suns, the light that leans from the unrealized vast, the joy that beckons from the impossible, the might of all that never yet came down.
King Asvapati felt himself faced by a supreme, unknowable reality, something that could not be known. But now he feels that there's this presence that he can relate to, that he can feel the love pouring out of this wonderful presence. He feels she is the heart of that vast unknown. And it's a heart full of light as well as love. She's a power of silence. She can bring that peace and that liberation. She's always there in the depths of God. She's the force, the energy of the divine, the inevitable word, that word of creation. She incarnates the command that must be fulfilled. She's the magnet of our difficult ascent. Here we are, slowly clambering up this slow road of evolution. And often we feel that, we'd like to give up and just sink back into unconsciousness. But there's something which is acting on us like a magnet and compelling us to keep on moving upwards and onwards. She's the sun. The sun in the Vedic symbolism is our material sun is the symbol of all the divine power and energy and light and presence. And it's a very good symbol for that, because materially everything we are somehow is connected with the sun. The sun is the source of life on earth. But he says that divine presence is the source of all suns. We know that our sun is only one among billions, no? And whatever may seem to us like a light that we have to follow, a light of truth, a light of that is attracting us or energizing us, all those suns, she is the source. She kindles. To kindle means to light a fire. No? So from that great sun, all our little suns are lit. She's the light of consciousness that's leaning down towards us from those unrealized vasts, all those immense, infinite possibilities that haven't yet been realized. The joy that beckons from the impossible. To beckon, it's to make a little gesture. Come, come. So in a loving way, she beckons to us and shows us that joy that can be in the future. She's the power, the might of everything that never yet came down, everything that has not yet manifested. Would you like to read, Jacqueline?
All nature dumbly calls to her alone, to heal with her feet the agile trot of life, and break the seals of the dim soul of man, and kindle a fire in the closed heart of things.
Thank you. So it's as if on our side, here in nature, there's an aspiration, a longing it can't speak, it doesn't put itself in words, but there's that longing and that aspiration that is calling to her to set her feet on the earth. In India, this is a very, very powerful image, the divine feet touching the earth, the divine presence incarnated setting feet on the earth. And if her feet touch, then every suffering will be healed. No? To heal with her feet, this aching throb of life. Life is somehow figured in us by the heartbeats, no? But very often these heartbeats, this throb, is a very painful one. It's like a wound. So if her feet will touch, all this will be healed. And these seals, it's as if our souls are sealed up. They can't open because they're dominated by matter. If her feet will touch the material world, then those seals will be broken. The soul will be able to open up and to respond. And in the closed heart of things, in all these unconscious material objects, this fire, her fire, will wake up, this fire and energy of transformation. Would you like to read, please? All here.
All here shall be one day of sweetness home. All contraries prepare a harmony. Towards her our knowledge climbs, our passion grows. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell.
One more line.
Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy her pain.
Yes. So this is a promise. Everything here one day will be the home of this divine sweetness. Everything that is here contrary, all the opposites and oppositions. There's this play of duality here. It's going on all the time. There always seems to be an affirmation and a refusal, a denial. But all that play of contraries is preparing her harmony in which each thing finds its place and everything complements everything else. So our knowledge is limited, but it's growing. It's climbing up to that greater light. And our passion, our intense feelings, it's as if they are in darkness, groping. Groping is what you do when the light suddenly goes off. Everything's black. You know you've got a torchlight somewhere. You have to grope about, feel your way through the darkness to find that source of light. And that's what all our intense longings, desires, passions, all these intense feelings that we have, they're groping for that light that she offers. The day will come when all of our souls will be able to live in her miraculous rapture, that intense delight of living in her presence. And her clasp, her embrace will turn all our pain to ecstasy. Yuli?
Our self shall be one self with all through her. In her confirmed because transformed in her, our life shall find in its fulfilled response above the boundless beatitudes, below the wonder of the embrace divine.
So at the moment we all feel like separate selves, but in the presence and the power of the Mother, we will feel our oneness with all the other selves. Our self shall be one self with all through her. Our life when it is confirmed in her, when she says yes to it by transforming it, when our life is confirmed in her because it's transformed in her, it's given its true form and its true value. And we shall find in the fulfilled response of our life, the life will say yes because it is fulfilled. It's no longer missing something, longing for something. It will experience on the higher levels of consciousness above the boundless, hushed beatitudes, that blissful, silent vastness. And below, here in the world of matter, the wonder of the embrace divine, that miraculous experience of feeling the divine presence in all the forms and movements of nature, feeling that embrace here in the world.
This one is amber flesh of God, the rapture of things eternal, built his limbs. Amazement fell upon his
Ravished
sense. His spirit was cold and had intolerant flame.
Thank you. So King Asvapati feels this presence, and he knows all this that's been described, everything that we have read. He knows who the mother is, what her power is, what it will mean for the earth and for himself. So this known and this knowledge comes to him like a flash of lightning, a thunder flash coming from God. And the effect it has upon him is that the rapture of things eternal filled his limbs. It's as if his whole body feels that eternal delight. His senses, all his senses are just ravished. They're filled with delight. And there's a sense of amazement, of wonder and surprise. How can this happen? So his spirit is caught in her flame, that flame which is intolerant. If something is intolerant, it won't allow certain things. She won't allow imperfection. She won't allow sorrow. Yeah? There has to be that purity of everything. In this purifying flame, which is her presence. Will you read, Ma'am? Will you read? No? Kyon?
Once in his heart of knowledge only a hunger of infinite bliss was left. All aimed in her were lost, then found in her. His base was gathered to one pointed
Spire. Yeah? So now he has seen her. You remember that he got a glimpse of her before at the end of Canto 14. It was as if just the veil is parted for a moment. He got a glimpse of her, and then he just fell into unconsciousness. No? But all the time, since then, he's been longing, and now he's really seen her and really known who and what she is. So when he's seen her, his heart acknowledges only her. This is the one that he's in love with, that will lead his life. And the only hunger that's left is that hunger for infinite bliss. All other longings have been completely burned up. All aims, everything that he was aiming for, is lost in this presence. In a way, it's as if she satisfies all aims. He can't ask for anything anymore. And then they are found again in her, because those aims he has been pursuing, she gives meaning and sanction to them, that yes, you find those aims again in a new way. So his base, his whole material base, even the subconscious, the inconscient, everything is gathered up into one pointing spire. A spire is that tall, pointed tower that we have sometimes on sacred buildings. It's a symbol of that aspiration, that flame of aspiration going up from the earth to the Supreme.
The hidden word was found, the long-sought clue. Revealed was the meaning of our spirit's birth, condemned to an imperfect body and mind in the inconscience of material things and the indignity of mortal life. A heart was felt in the spaces wide and bare, a burning love from white spiritual founts annulled the sorrow of the ignorant depths. Suffering was lost in her immortal smile. A life from beyond grew conqueror here of death. To err no more was natural to mind. Wrong could not come where all was light and love. The formless and the formed were joined in her. Immensity was exceeded by a look. A face revealed the crowded infinite. Incarnating inexpressibly in her limbs the boundless joy the blind world forces seek. Her body of beauty mooned the seas of bliss. At the head she stands of birth and toil and fate. In their slow round the cycles turn to her call. Alone her hands can change time's dragon base. Hers is the mystery the night conceals. The spirit's alchemist energy is hers. She is the golden bridge, the wonderful fire, the luminous heart of the unknown is she, a power of silence in the depths of God. She is the force, the inevitable word, the magnet of our difficult ascent, the sun from which we kindle all our suns, the light that leans from the unrealized vasts, the joy that beckons from the impossible, the might of all that never yet came down. All nature dumbly calls to her alone, to heal with her feet the aching throb of life, and break the seals on the dim soul of man, and kindle her fire in the closed heart of things. All here shall be one day her sweetness home. All contraries prepare her harmony. Towards her our knowledge climbs, our passion gropes. In her miraculous rapture we shall dwell. Her clasp shall turn to ecstasy our pain. Our self shall be one self with all through her. In her confirmed, because transformed in her, our life shall find in its fulfilled response. Above the boundless, hushed beatitudes, below the wonder of the embrace divine. This, known as in a thunder flash of God, the rapture of things eternal filled his limbs. Amazement fell upon his ravished sense. His spirit was caught in her intolerant flame. Once seen, his heart acknowledged only her. Only a hunger of infinite bliss was left. All aims in her were lost, then found in her. His base was gathered to one pointing spire.